Welcome back. I've been out of commission for a while, bit of a Christmas and a cold thing, which has slightly slowed the progress that I was hoping to make on the Dark Valley. But we have moved on. I've done the first 2 turns actually, so I think the Barbarossa scenario is 8 turns, so just starting turn 3, so just over a quarter way. And yeah, what a really pleasant surprise, because I was never convinced I was going to really like the game as much as I think I do. Still very early days, of course, but because the CRT was, you know, fairly old school, wasn't doing anything particularly different, but I think probably one of the best ways to sum up how it makes me feel is that the game feels finished, and something that you can't always say about every game that you buy, to be honest. I'm sure we've all experienced that. You know, Thunder in the East is an example where, you know, bits of it I prefer to the Dark Valley. I think the air system in Thunder in the East is a bit more interesting, a bit more chrome, a bit of depth to it, slightly more innovative in some respects. The logistics in Thunder in the East are very nice, but the thing still hasn't settled down, so that's been just left me feeling that it just really wasn't finished. I'm sure it will be at some point, but it is nice to get something out of the box, and it felt quite tight right from the get-go. The rules themselves, I mean, it's quite an achievement because they're not very long. It's 24-25 pages, and I think I had a couple of very minor queries, but okay, it's the deluxe edition, so it's essentially it's a second edition, but very clean, feels just well thought through. Some of my earlier sort of puzzling thoughts about, you know, what's the point of this little Stug chip that can fly around the map from operation to operation, and similarly when the Russians get their equivalent tank units come in. I think ultimately that's a way of just removing sort of complete certainty. You can't plan all your attacks. You know, I'm going to get 2-to-1 everywhere, right, let's go. Well, actually no, because the Stugs can come along to the party and spoil the plan, and similarly for the other assets that can come in, be they the Romanian Air Force or whatever. They're just little ways to sort of mix things up a little bit. So yeah, I think that's fine. That sort of slight wasn't even a concern. It was more a query about what's that for then, and I think it's just to bring a bit of uncertainty into the combats. That's no bad thing. What have I got? 19. I think I've got 19 victory points so far. So I've gained 5 in 2 turns. Need to get 30 in the next 6 turns, which sounds, you know, ooh, we're on schedule. But I think things are going to get more difficult. If it's anything like any other Eastern Front games I've played, you think, wow, this is easy. No, I can't be stopped. But you can just feel now that the turn 2 and 3 Russian reinforcements, they're starting to get a bit more serious. You're starting to get the logistics network is getting a bit tighter. That's a very nice system, just moving forward the supply heads with the die roll, you know, saves all the kind of re-gauging, you know, all the engineering and re-gauging exercises and all that kind of stuff, which things like Fire in the East, I remember doing that in Fire in the East, different lifetime many moons ago, and I guess at the time it felt right, but now it just feels like extra work. And ultimately, to what end? So I guess it's, you know, as they say, it's not what you put in, it's what you leave out. The chit pull, I think, is very interesting. The logistics chit is one which is talked about a lot. Is it a game breaker? Or, you know, if I get that on a certain turn, that's the difference between winning and losing the game. Don't know. I mean, I've only had a couple of them so far, obviously, and I can see that it could be advantageous to have an early or a late one. But it's not as though it's a 4 or 5 turn game where you're going to get maybe one of those at the wrong time and it's all over, because it's 44 turns. I mean, that will even out over time. You'll get a good draw and a bad draw, I'm sure. I'll have to eat my words there later. See whether or not I get burned by a bad logistics chit draw. Yes, if it's 2-player, the Russian player is not doing a great deal, is he, for the first couple of turns? I mean, there are, there's 8 German chits and 2 Russian for the first 2 turns. So the Russian is actually doing less than in many other games. You compare it to Thunder in the East, Bed-Stuy Rising, Proud Monster. In fact, probably any other Russian front game. The Russians aren't doing much attacking necessarily, but they're doing a bit of movement and repositioning, and in sort of almost equal numbers. Here, of course, that's completely not the case, with 80% of the chits being German. But would it bother me if I was the Russian player in a face-to-face? Nah, not really. It's a phase that you get through, isn't it? It's a couple of turns of the Wehrmacht storm, and you've got to try and survive that, and take some pleasure in the fact that the Germans can always take losses, because the CRT is even on top odds 6 to 1. There's still a 1 in 6 chance of a attacker loss, which is good. And you don't actually. Some CRTs are, if you are off the right hand side of the CRT table, then it's an automatic defender eliminated or something. In this, you actually, if you're, 25 to 1, you roll on the 6 to 1 column, and even more so if there is a column shift, you go down to the 6 to 1 first, and then go to 5 to 1. You don't say, well, it's 25 to 1, therefore it's 24 to 1. We'll call it 6 to 1. You let it rolling on the 5 to 1 column. So, combats are far from certain. You will take losses. The Germans have taken losses, and they get some replacements. No idea whether the rate of attrition is anywhere near where it needs to be for the Germans to be taking sufficient risk in pushing forward. But yeah, it's very nice. How would I rate it? Don't know. I'd like to reserve that judgment. I think that's probably sensible to reserve the judgment until I've played a lot more of it, really. But first feel is very good. So we'll look at the map and update the situation, and hope to push on for the rest of the holidays. Let us start in the north, you can see that Riga has fallen. They're pushing on that last port, which is actually a VP as well, so they're pretty confident of getting to 20. Driving up towards, we've captured Minsk. Smolensk is just there, you'll see defended with a 5-4 unit. I've actually placed the reinforcements for turn 3, so what you're seeing now is what the Germans will be facing, and they of course have the interesting decision to make, because they've got the initiative. They get to pick a chit and put the rest in the bag, so they'll get a chance to decide. I'm thinking movement at the moment, almost certainly will be movement. Kiev, you'll see that's the Zhukov chit there, and the Stalin, not the Stalin, the Stavka chit is just up there, so I've tried to give myself some options there as a Russian, and there are 6 Russian armies in the reserve, so I figured, well, I'll try and cover both avenues of advance there, see which way I need them. Dnipropetrovsk is another VP space, defended with an army, and another army in Zaporozhye. I think that's Zaporozhye, is it? Yes. So there's 2 more VPs there. So Krivoy Rog, there's another one. So there are, half a dozen, I suppose, which is only going to get you to about 25-ish. So there's still lots of work to do for the Germans. You see, I had to use the Luftwaffe to supply the spearheads at the time when the logistics chit was drawn. You're trying to play games as well with the HQs, so they can double team. So there's 2 Panzer Army HQs north and south of the Pripyat marshes. Romanians have awakened. Start of turn 2, they've pushed on, and of course they're going to try and get to Odessa as quickly as possible. So there you have it. Nice job, Mr. Racer. I'm very pleased I managed to pick up a copy of this. We'll get back when there's a few more turns played.